Hey guys, welcome back to the Final Whistle podcast. Game week 22. Is it a pinnacle, crucial one? I've got Ben here. We're going to discuss all the key action and the talking points. As naturally as Liverpool fans, we're a little bit smug right now. And Ben, welcome. Obviously, we didn't speak last week. It was FA Cup week. We're back. Turns out, so were Liverpool. Brentford away, tough task. Liverpool not playing overly great, not getting the right results as well, with a disappointing draw against Manchester United. I'm going to say an annoying draw against Nottingham Forest. Brentford, it felt like it was going that way. So talk to me about this one. I think we got a full Darwin Núñez experience.
Yeah, it was a crazy game. It was one of those where I've had people coming up to me saying that Liverpool were lucky, but that wasn't the case at all. Liverpool deserved to win, and I mean, it had to be Darwin Núñez to come on and do it. Really, it was only going to be him. But yeah, I know like we didn't talk about the midweek games, but I've seen so many people stressing out and like losing their heads after the Forest game, especially, and I
I
just
was
wish
one of
everyone
them.
would calm down.
Like,
I just wish everyone would calm down. I know it's easier
I,
saying that now.
Yeah, I was one of them, Ben. So, but luckily, I don't take it to social media. I keep it internal.
Yeah.
Yeah, um, Liverpool looked. Darwin Núñez, he almost got sent off. I love the fact that he came off the bench. He always tends to score very important goals.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I can't really wrap my head around it. Normally, you have like a logical explanation for like a player scoring important goals. You know, like Origi scored loads because he was that calm and composed. He was almost unbothered by it, whereas Nunes is a complete opposite to that. So I don't know. He deserves it. I'm over the moon for him, and I think there was the three of them running off celebrating. There was Chiesa, Nunes, and Harvey Elliott, who obviously there's been a lot of reports and murmurs around. So it was brilliant to see them, and they didn't look like three players that were unhappy from what I saw.
No, they didn't. It was nice to see a little bit of Chiesa in there as well, in Premier League action as well, and kind of involved in the second goal as well.
Yeah.
We're hoping that maybe Arne Slot gives him maybe a few more opportunities, given the fact that he did score. I mean, I know it was Accrington Stanley, but I feel like the front three men at the moment, the ones that we kind of rely on, they've kind of gone a little bit off the boil.
Yeah, I agree with that. I thought Nunes would have started against Brentford, and probably thankfully he didn't because I don't think he has that sort of impact from the start. But yeah, I was a bit surprised that Diaz went again. Um, I don't know. I think they're just a little bit leggy. I think it's just like a lot of the squad. I think they're a little bit tired and maybe a bit kind of running out of ideas. But you know, Diaz in the false nine, I'm not a massive fan of it. I think it works against certain teams, like say your Man Cities, your Real Madrids, like teams who are going to come and try and play. But when you've got two massive centre halves who are just going to follow you and crunch it every time you get the ball, it was quite frustrating. But I mean, 37 shots, you can't really say that Liverpool didn't deserve to win.
No, it's true. I was like thinking, please no, and then obviously
Yeah.
right at the end we kind of came to light, and we almost got Darwin Núñez. He's looking out to get sent off as well with that tackle at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, uh, I actually thought the defense did really well as well. Like, I don't think players like Mbeumo and Wissa are very easy to contain, and Liverpool, and they've had some joy against Liverpool in the past. So I'm going to give a bit of a shout out to the defense. I thought the full team selection, I know the attackers didn't score, but I felt like the midfield, the defense, I felt like everything worked really well, and I'm so delighted that Alisson got a clean sheet as well because I think that was
Yeah.
crucial as well.
Yeah, I touched on this. I think I might have tweeted actually. I think Brentford had 6 or 7 shots on target, but you kind of think none of them were really threatening. They were all from like tight angles. I know they nearly scored in the opening minute, but then you'd say Szoboszlai hit the crossbar and Gakpo when he was through and kind of just put it wide. So yeah, I'm not really on the whole idea that Brentford caused us lots of trouble, and that is down to the centre backs. The amount of times we saw Canate come over and push and like Vissa wide so that they don't have a good scoring opportunity. I thought Canate was the standout for me. I thought Canate and I thought McAllister and Gravenberch were really good as well. And Szoboszlai, I mean, we said this, I can't remember which game it was after, but you really see Szoboszlai's importance in that game. And yeah, I thought they were all brilliant.
I think it might have been the Spurs game. I
Yeah,
think it
probably.
might have been the Spurs game. And you know what? I take something back as well. I was calling Brentford names a few weeks ago, saying that they're flat track bullies, but they got a point against Man City, and very nearly got a point against us as well. So credit to them in that regard as well. I think we've kind of discussed. I've got one for you, real quick question. I want to know your thoughts on this. So there's been a lot of talk about this game and the comeback and the win. Not even a comeback, but just the win.
Yeah.
And it's been quite highly compared to Liverpool's title winning season and that Aston Villa game. I'm sure you've
Yeah.
seen the comparisons as well.
Yeah, I see why people would say that, and I do think it also it wasn't a late winner, so to speak, but it reminds us a little bit of when Salah scored against Man United that season. I know the gap isn't quite the same as what it was there. I think if that game doesn't really give you belief that Liverpool are going to win the league this season, then I don't know what is going to give you that belief.
Oh, there you go. You heard it there, people. Ben has put it out there. I think we spoke about Liverpool a fair bit. Let's move on to the rivals, should we say? Arsenal 2, Aston Villa 2. I feel like the thorn in Arsenal's side when it comes to a Premier League title mount is always Aston Villa. I mean, I think these are massive points dropped, given they had a 2-goal lead. I know Saliba weren't playing, but what did you make of this one?
Yeah, I thought Arsenal were really poor, and I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans obviously blaming the Havertz handball and saying that it's not handball. I don't know how you can say that's not handball, but
it's actually one of my next questions to you, so I'm glad you covered it.
Yeah, we may as well talk about it. It's definitely handball, and I get why they're kind of frustrated, but I do actually think he knows what he's doing as well. Like he turns his body, but he does leave his hand there and kind of flicks it. So I don't know, but I'm just so tired of Arsenal making excuses. Like they were poor again yesterday, and I know we spoke about Arteta a lot, but whether it's the ball or the weather or referee indecisions, they're just not as good as they were last season. Simple as. And with Saliba out, I thought Gabriel looked quite average yesterday as well.
It's really mad as well, because if I actually look at that result and I watch Aston Villa as well, like we watched them, I didn't think Aston Villa were overly great. I just feel like, a few chances and they took them. Watkins put the wrongs right from the first game where he missed a couple of sitters, because I did think Aston Villa were the better side in that game. But I don't know. Are they? I don't know what to make of Arsenal, like when it comes to a title challenge, because we've seen them fall short a fair bit. I'm not saying they're out of this one. No. There's those 6 points in it, but to throw away a 2-goal lead in that manner, it kind of feels very, I don't know, immature.
Yeah, it doesn't. They keep on throwing this phrase of, "Oh, we have experience of being in title races now," but a team with experience in title races don't do that. You won't, touch wood anyway, you won't see Liverpool or Man City chucking away a 2-0 lead at home. I can guarantee you that.
No, you wouldn't. And let's speak of the next. Ipswich 0, Manchester City 6. They've crawled back into top 4. You know what, Ben? I'm going to be honest with you. When it comes to anyone that kind of frightens me, even though there is a big point difference between us and Man City, I do feel like if anyone's going to threaten us, it's still going to be them, because they do have the know-how of coming back and winning things. But they look like their old selves, and Ipswich were absolutely diabolical today, which breaks my heart to say.
Yeah, it was a bit of both. It looked more like the usual selves, a bit more patient, like a bit more in control. But like you say, Ipswich were awful as well. And I've just looked, and I think if they win all 16 of the remaining games, they'd be on 86 points by the end of the season. So I know we do kind of have this like PTSD from previous title races and getting caught by City, but I genuinely don't think it's anything to worry about this time. They've still got to go to Arsenal, which, to be fair, I wouldn't mind if they took something off Arsenal. They've still got to go to Tottenham. We've still got to play them. They've still got a lot of hard games. So, and this Ipswich team have the moments, but on the whole, they are quite poor, and they are a championship side. They've only won one home game all season, so I don't think Guardiola and the Man City players will be getting too ahead of themselves.
No, they won't be. I completely agree with you there. But yeah, it's just a very, very gutted for Ipswich. I feel like they kind of conceded. Like we knew it was going to happen. I felt like Man City kind of set their stall out quite early. It was a case of attack, and it was a matter of when. They take 27 minutes before Man City did score, but let's see. But I love your northern nerves of steel with regards to what kind of threat Man City pose. I mean, like I could do with some of that. I can't lie. Right, we've spoken about the contenders and the close-ups. Where should we go next? We've got some good results.
We may as well stick with today because I wouldn't mind talking about Everton Spurs. I know Everton, we don't like giving too much praise to Everton, but this game was really fascinating for me. And I mean, obviously, the main narrative is going to be Ange and his future. And I was just wondering where you kind of stand on it, because I've been saying for a while I'm not overly impressed with Ange, but I get the kind of circumstances that he's in. But I don't know. I just think he's very, very lucky to still be in the job. And I think if they weren't in that Carabao Cup run, obviously 1-0 lead over us at the minute, I think he'd be out of the job by now.
I think there are some like massive concerns over him. I think the thing with Spurs is they've you said they're quite happy like with where their fans are, like, when and I think he kind of, I don't know, I feel like he kind of jinxed himself when he said, "Oh, you're not entertained." I think they've lost like 8 games out of 10 or something. Like, the run is absolutely shocking. I mean, they are actually in a relegation battle. We laugh at Man United. They are currently, where are they? They are 15th.
15th. Yeah. I tweeted earlier, I was saying Spurs should go after Iriola, the Bournemouth manager. And then I said, if not, Thomas Frank, and then if not, Marco Silva. And I had a Tottenham fan reply say, oh yeah, Thomas Frank, who just got beat by Plymouth in the FA Cup. And I was thinking, well, at the minute, you're 15th, like you say, lost 8 out of 10? Got took the extra time by Tamworth in the FA Cup, scraped past the Liverpool team that had like Endo playing centre-back.
Yeah. And that player should have been sent off, by the way.
Yeah. I just think he's really, really lucky to still be in the job. And I know he likes to point out the injuries, which I get. It's not really an excuse; it is a reason. But we've spoke about it before. He's just as responsible for them injuries in the first place as anyone else. Yeah, but also the midfield looks awful as well. It's not just the defense; the whole team looks all over the place. I mean, Pape Sarr looks like really, really bad.
I think he might be the next manager that I think he's under the microscope a fair bit. I think that's pretty much fair to say, and I'm sure, but the thing is, with regards to Spurs, it's one of those jobs where a lot of people I don't think want.
Yeah, that's what I said in that tweet as well. I was naming their managers and I said, do you really think any of them would jump at the chance to go to Spurs? And I don't think they would. I mean, or if they do, I think they're very stupid too.
Yeah, because I don't think you're given that, that I don't know, that support, that loyalty, that let's get behind the manager, let's give him some time. And I feel like they've had so many options and it keeps falling for them. But Everton, Moise, I mean, a lot happened since you and I've spoken. There's been a couple of managerial changes. We've not even addressed that, but obviously he lost his first home game to I believe it was Aston Villa.
Aston Villa, yeah.
1-0, yeah. And obviously a home win there and 3 goals. Who is this Everton? I mean, even Calvin Lewin is scoring.
I don't think they'd scored in 9 of the last 11 before today. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong with that, but it won't be far off that sort of stat. But yeah, they played quite well. And I'll tell you who, I don't want to say I really like an Everton player, but I'll tell you who I really rate is Ndiaye, Iliman Ndiaye, the forward who scored, I think it was the second goal. He's looked like their main threat this season, and he was really good at Sheffield United. He was in the Championship, and he was by far the best player in the Championship. So to get him, it's a good signing. But I said this when Moyes came back. I think they will play better football under Moyes, but I think they'll concede more goals. And a 3-2 wasn't what I was expecting from this game. So
fun and games. But yeah, Moyes is back at Everton. I know a lot of Spurs, but yep. Constant state of meltdown. It's a North London thing, I'm telling you. Should we talk about Forest and Saints? Because I feel like this is a copy and paste kind of result. Finished 3-2. Nottingham Forest looked completely in cruise control, 3-0 at half-time. And then there's a little bit of a comeback from Southampton. Some positives for Southampton, though. 4 shots on target. They're scoring goals now as well. I guess, you've got to look at the positives. But a potential concern for Forest with the fact that they're kind of leaking goals?
Yeah, maybe, yeah. I mean, the first Southampton goal, from what I saw, looked like a weird kind of deflected goal. They kind of got them back in the game. They kind of looped over the keeper, but then I think they conceded from a set piece, and then I think Aina had to clear one off the line, which was giving me flashbacks to the one he did against Salah on Tuesday. I don't know if you saw it as well. Milenkovic's offside goal where Ramsdale like spills and drops it. I don't know if you saw it, but it was really funny. Ramsdale's mistake, but somehow they gave offside. I think it was harsh, but yeah, it was just like the Everton game. First half, Forest were really clinical, and then second half they were quite wasteful, and then almost were made to pay. I mean, imagine Southampton come back from 3-0 down. That would have been crazy.
You know what I find really mad about Ramsdale? There was a lot of hype and talk about him. You know, when he was Arsenal's number one, like he's going to be the next big thing. He's a big thing, you know, and like he kind of got a lot of plaudits for things. And now he's at Southampton, and obviously I know the team isn't great. I know they don't defensively kind of help him in any way, shape, or form, but he does look like a really poor keeper, and it's not, and it's got nothing to do with that because I forget the lad's name escapes me, but Leicester's number one keeper. Even though Leicester are absolutely dreadful, that goalkeeper puts in a shift. You know, like you do you know what I mean? Like Ramsdale looks like a really bad goalkeeper.
Yeah, sometimes playing for those kind of teams make you look better. You know, if you're a keeper trying to get a big move, going to a team like that is a real chance to prove yourselves. But I thought as soon as he went to Southampton, I found it strange because at that team, every single weakness that you have is going to be exploited to the maximum. And these mistakes are going to happen. So to go from Arsenal to Southampton, I mean, he's kind of just went back to where he started his career, where, you know, I think he's already been relegated at least twice. So this is going to be at least the third time. So I don't think he's done himself any favours. Sometimes you've just got to be a bit clever. I know he backs himself, but I don't think this move was ever really going to work out for him.
No, it was not. And considering he had some big suitors as well, I'm sure some big teams were in for him. But anyway, let's move on from that one. Forest still in the Champions League kind of spots. Where should we go next?
We may as well do Man United while we're on the Sunday games.
Oh, oh gosh. So Brighton did the double at Man United. Really poor home performance and result. The goalkeeper had howlers again. You know, I think we always anticipate that. But yeah, Man United losing 3-1 to Brighton. What do you do as a United fan? What do you do considering that comeback against Southampton where Amad Diallo gets the hat trick? I actually think United was quite good. You know, these past couple of games where they've had like a week to prepare and they've been like they beat Arsenal in the FA Cup. I did put in a bit of a monster to them, that monster performance against us. Here we are. Over to you.
Yeah, they got away with it against Southampton. Obviously, Diallo steps up and he's done that quite a few times for them this season. But against teams like Brighton, they're not going to give you a chance. They'll blow you out the water before you even have the chance to get to that point where you can bring it back. Let's all laugh at them, Max.
One shot on target as well, by the way. One shot on target.
At home to a Brighton team that's been like very leaky defensively recently. I mean, they're in a pretty bad run of form. And not bad, but, you know, they haven't been brilliant lately. And I mean, Onana, surely time's running out for him. How long do you stick with him when he keeps on making mistakes like that?
I'd go with the other keeper, you know, Bendia.
He looks quite. What game did I recently? I think it was the Arsenal game. Actually, he done well in the Arsenal game in the FA Cup. I know he was a bit shaky against. I think it was Tottenham in the League Cup before Christmas. But he can't be doing any worse than what Onana is at the minute.
We spoke about him. He's like an anxious goalkeeper, isn't he? Like you can see that he's, you know, like I feel like a keeper should be like really composed and unbothered, and not unbothered as in like nonchalant. What I mean is can absorb the pressure, you know, that can handle it. He doesn't look like somebody who can. You've
got to kind of like bring out your confidence onto the defenders, if that makes sense. Like if you say, like you look at Alisson and yes, he might make the odd mistake, but you can see the defenders have full faith in him, and that weirdly makes the defenders perform better as well. But when you've got a keeper behind that, like you're behind them the way they have at the minute, sometimes you just think, well, I could have the game of my life here and he could just throw one in the net, which is what he's kind of doing at the minute.
It's really bizarre. I do feel bad for Man United fans. My mum is a United fan and she just said, I'm so glad they were on TV because it's just
every cloud.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, it worked out for you. So yeah, Man United, I guess. In your opinion, who do you think is in more of a tricky situation, Man United or Spurs? Because they're both, like in a
Yeah.
less desirable place.
I think there's more wrong with Spurs than what there is with Man United. But I think the problems at Man United go deeper. I think it's more about what's going on at the club and like the toxic environment at the club. But on footballing terms, I'd say Tottenham's in a worse position. I think, like I said, just changes like dropping Onana will make a huge difference. But I don't know, you know. And Man United are always more likely to go into the transfer window and spend money as well. And I think Amram's a better manager than And as well. So it's just as simple as that. And I mean, we saw it at Anfield what they can be like, but it's just getting that kind of consistency. Whereas, Tottenham beat us, and they were nowhere near as good as what Man United were, who drew with us. So I don't know.
Yeah, watch this space. I mean, Man United could go into the transfer window, but it doesn't necessarily work out for them as well. And I do agree with
Yeah,
you. I do
that's true.
is a better manager. I just feel like Ange just maybe needs to readjust and stop being arrogant and maybe change up his philosophy and his football. But it looks like he's very one dimensional, and I think that's probably the alarming part. Right, where should we go next? We've got a few more games.
We'll do Newcastle Bournemouth.
This one fun, absolute fun. You know what? When this one was like, you see the schedule and you're like, oh, that's the 12:30. Two informed teams at the moment.
Yeah.
I actually enjoy this one. I know Bournemouth absolutely put the sword to them, and I enjoyed that because there's two teams that really impressed this season, and I'm going to say it's Nottingham Forest in terms of shocked us,
Mm.
and Bournemouth in terms of shocked us. And I have a preference more towards Bournemouth because I like how they play football.
Yeah, I was actually on that thing that I put out about Spurs going after Iraola. I had a Bournemouth fan reply saying like, he's not going to go anywhere, and I got talking to him, and I was actually saying that Bournemouth are like the most exciting team to watch other than Liverpool. I would say at the minute this season, I think they have been the best team to watch. And they were brilliant against Newcastle. I mean, that Newcastle midfield's looked so good in recent weeks, and the way they pressed them, they made them look quite average. I mean, Bruno Guimaraes, who's obviously a quality player, but I mean, getting the ball stuck under his feet and gifting them a goal. And I mean, Clive, I know he scored a hat trick of penalties, but another hat trick. He's having a hell of a season, isn't he?
He is. He's absolutely having a fantastic season. But I do. I'm really, really am drawn towards Bournemouth, and I think the fact that their manager was getting called for at the beginning of last season, get him sacked, and everyone was like, and all the La Liga experts were like, just watch this space with him,
Yeah.
watch this space with him, just give him patience, watch the football that he's going to bring. And he really has bought it, and I just think even though it finished 4-1, I actually really enjoyed this game of football, maybe because I do have a bit of a soft spot for Bournemouth, and away at Newcastle as well, who have been actually pretty decent quite recently. I feel like their results and their form have been on par.
Yeah, I think Newcastle had won 7 on the bounce before yesterday. Obviously, looking Isak has been on fire, probably the best striker in the world over the past month or so. But yeah, they just had no answer yesterday. I think it was just one of those days where they had an off day and Bournemouth fully punished them. I've spoken to a few Newcastle fans since, and to be fair, they've been quite level-headed about it. And yeah, I think it was just one of those days.
We're talking about transfer business here in our chat. Hopefully, we do something. But yeah, I feel like I think what Liverpool tend to do in the transfer window is monitor people. I don't think they quite grasp the idea that you're actually going to go in and buy someone, but here we are. Right, where to next, Ben?
We'll stick with the Saturday games. We'll go Leicester Fulham.
Leicester Fulham. Let's talk about this one. 2-0 to Fulham. Smith Rowe and Traore scoring the goals. I tell you what I found bizarre about this. Fulham had 2 shots on target and scored both of them. I feel like this was a really poor quality game.
Yeah, it didn't seem like a great game. I spoke to Emil Heskey during the week, and I was asking him about Ruud van Nistelrooy and and kind of what he thought about like what's actually changed. And he said about like possession and creating more chances, and I do kind of see what he's coming from with there. But the results are still awful. I think they've only won 1 out of 9 or 10 since he came in. So I don't know. It's a tough one unless they look all over the place defensively. I think they're alongside Southampton pretty much definite to go down. And if Ipswich kind of get that fight back that we saw against Chelsea a couple of weeks ago, then maybe they're in with a chance. Maybe Tottenham will be looking over the shoulder. But with Everton having Moyes and playing the way they did for parts today, I think the bottom 3 currently are the 3 that will go down. But then again, Wolves aren't out of it completely either, and obviously they play tomorrow against Chelsea. So hopefully, no offense to Wolves, but hopefully the relegation battle stays interesting at least for a little bit longer.
Indeed, I feel like it was a bit of a painful game week for like the teams that who have been kind of promoted, and it's not been great for them, and it kind of looks like it could be a bit of a defining season in that regard as well, from the bottom of the table as well, because if Ipswich had won today and hope Chelsea had done something, it would have put them in good stead, and it's not gone great at all. We've only got one more game to discuss, Ben, and it is Graham Potter's West Ham versus Crystal Palace.
I thought West Ham would have won this, to be fair. I was really disappointed, obviously, after they'd done well against Aston Villa in the Cup, and then the won during the week. And then yesterday was kind of just back to the way they were under Lopetegui, wasn't it? It was a bit uninspiring.
They beat Fulham, didn't they, midweek? I'm sure it was Fulham.
Yeah, I'm sure it was 3-2. Yeah.
Yes.
Classic Graham Potter game, but yeah, it's a great win for Palace, and fair play to them for sticking with Glasner. And we've kind of been saying it all season that you can see the progress is there. And I mean, Mateta's on fire again. He looks like a great striker all of a sudden. He kind of went through that run where he was looking a bit shaky, but yeah, if they can keep him firing and Sarr and Eze joining in, and then Nketiah looked lively, obviously winning the penalty as well, Palace will be absolutely fine.
They will. They have been slowly just getting on with it. And West Ham, yeah, they looked a bit meh. And obviously, let's see what happens there. Whilst you and I were obviously busy because it was FA Cup week and League Cup games, I mean, like 2 new managers in. I mean, like I was like, why is it all happening when the Premier League isn't there? I will say one thing. I watched that little TikTok that you sent me of the Southampton fan. I wonder if she I couldn't stop laughing. She was getting booed. It was so funny. She was like, because she's got a fresh side shirt. It's literally the best thing ever.
Yeah.
It was the reaction to it.
Yeah, it's Adam Armstrong's face as well, the player who has to. He doesn't even try and be nice or just out of courtesy.
I'm sure he tastes good, but like teeth would,
yeah,
class.
Brilliant clip. If anyone hasn't seen it, go and search kind of like Southampton fan wins shirt after predicting 5-0 home defeat. It's a brilliant video.
It's so funny. Oh my god, I must bring it up, and I have to bring it up on this. I could not stop laughing. And I think we've discussed all the key talking points here. What any final takeaways? I mean, Chelsea are playing tomorrow, Wolves. I feel like they've got to win a game, because I feel like they've really fallen off a cliff since they got within touching distance of Liverpool, and people started taking them a little bit seriously. I think it's a massive game for Chelsea, but I also think it's a huge game for Wolves as well.
Yeah, like I touched on there, Wolves, under that new manager beating Man United, and that you looked like they were going to pull away, and then I think they had a defeat, and now they're kind of back amongst it. It's going to be a hard game for them. I'm sure is it at Stamford Bridge or is it at Wolves? I can't actually remember.
I think it's at the Bridge.
Yeah. So it'll be a hard game for them, but Chelsea, I mean, we said before Christmas, this kind of 5-6 game spell were like all winnable games, because this was when we were thinking Chelsea were in a title race. And they've dropped points in them all, pretty much. So Wolves will have kind of inspiration from that, and hopefully they get something, so it'll be quite funny.
Indeed. So, Ben, would you say this was a successful game week? You're happy with it?
Yeah,
of course it is. Yeah,
I thought Ipswich would have put up more of a fight against City. That's the only. I thought City would win, but I was thinking maybe like a 2-1 or something, not a 6-0. But One thing I would say is we haven't spoke about one bad refereeing decision. I think this is
No,
the first. So,
maybe we've got our blinkers on so much
because we're
that
that happy.
we've just let them kind of slide and think,
Yeah.
oh, you know what? I feel like they'll be back. It's like the
Yeah.
buses, it's like the buses, they'll all catch up with us next week, but hopefully not. Ben, where can people find you on social media? And is there anything you'd like to plug? Because I know you've had an awesome podcast out this week as well, which I think people should know about.
Yeah, so for my stuff, just Ben Prescott Journal on Twitter. You'll find every podcast and article that I do is on there. Any interview, but yeah, there was a podcast with Lewis Bower, who's like an academy expert. I'm sure you've all heard of him. There's no one really out there who does what Lewis does for Liverpool, really. And he's brilliant at it. So all sorts of insight. We spoke about Jaden Dans, Rio and Gamoa. We even spoke about the Trent Ball Boy, who set up the corner taking quickly and what he's up to now, and also some youth kids to look out for. He mentioned the next Alisson Becker, so there's loads of stuff. But yeah, go and give it a listen.
Do check it out. It's fascinating, and if you don't get a chance to watch the academy played, which, to be honest with you, it's quite hard for a lot of people, it's a good way to keep in the loop in terms of what youngsters are coming through, who is impressing, and if they make the team lineup, you're not surprised or shocked as to who they are because you've been educated on them. But yeah, it's a fantastic podcast. Do check it out. Do follow Ben on socials. From my side, it'll just be the Final Whistle podcast. And I think I will be back with Euro Incision with Guy Drinkle covering Europe. So all fun and games here. Guys, thank you so much for joining us live. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Take care and we'll catch you soon.